Hi, I'm Perry Nolan.
And I'm Sarah Edwards. Our regular edition of Evening Magazine won't be here tonight.
We make way so that our own Steve Aveson can bring you his New England Portrait Special.
At 101 years old, Ruby Hemingway is probably the country's oldest journalist. Jack Swedberg has photographed him all his life, and now he wants to reintroduce the eagle to the Quabbin Reservoir. Elaine Corey is a teacher, choreographer, and director of some of the country's most talented young people. David Bunker has spent the majority of his life in an institution, and now he puts his life into words as the poet of the Fernald School. Listen as these four people share their stories on our New England Portrait Special.
I've always enjoyed the images at Old Sturbridge Village. The interpreters here provide a kind of living portrait of the pioneering spirit of the 19th century New England farmer. When we started our New England Portrait series a year ago, I often wondered if there'd be a common thread to the stories that we did, or if it'd just be a collection of pieces under the same title. But as time has passed, I've discovered a real spirit in the subject of our pieces, which is actually a reflection of the spirit of all people in New England.
What are New England portraits? Well, they're about the people of New England. Ordinary folks just like you and me, only just a little bit different. Butchers and ball players, magicians and museum directors. They are teachers that teach and singers that sing.
That's gonna bring.
But they do it with a quality that leaves you remembering. From the ferryboat captain in Maine providing a lifeline to Monhegan Island, to the Indian chief in Providence, passing language on to the next generation.
Cheerio.
Their lives tell a story that is a privilege to share because they bring something to this party called life and they leave it there.
There you go.
They're ordinary people, just like you and me. We call them New England portraits. Sister Barbara Scanlon is a portrait. Counseling runaways is not just a 9-to-5 job for her. Up to 500 young people receive her personal attention every year. The job is filled with unpublicized rewards and private struggles.
You have to say at some point, you know, why is there all this pain?
And George Gloss was a portrait. Sitting among the stacks of the Brattle bookstore, he traveled around the world through books and took his customers along with him.
My whole life, it's a great joy every day. And like Jim Hawkins and Treasure Island, I'm finding treasures and all kinds of autographs and manuscripts and documents. And these are so enheartening that every day is a joy and adventure. Jim Hawkins out for the treasures.
And just where would the kids from the Cambridge Ringe and Latin Percussion Ensemble be if it weren't for Jimmy Smith? Well, some of them think it would not be in school.
Ending of that again. Don't move. Don't move. I don't care if you make a mistake or not. Do not move. Once you move, you've broken concentration. Once you break concentration, everybody focuses everything on you.
They make a difference in the quality of life because they don't wait for others to build bridges. They get involved with a spirit that is New England, a spirit perhaps best described in our portrait of storyteller J. O'Callahan.
I see that as a New England quality. Ability to bruise the air and march on with life, and underneath, you're not quite as tough, but you're gonna go on and deal with life, because it's worth it.
It really is New England.
Yeah. Smell it in the air.
In the last year, we've done 35 New England portraits, stories that I think begin to capture the spirit of the people of New England. But after all, television can only offer you a glimpse of people's lives in 3 to 5 minutes. But in a couple of moments, we're going to meet Elaine Corey, a woman who packs more life into 5 minutes than most of us pack into a weekend. But then again, she has to. She works with teenagers. If there is a pattern in the subjects of our New England portraits, I think it's reflected in the spirit of the people. A spirit of perseverance, a spirit of getting on with life despite adversity, or perhaps because of it. And if there's one person who best exemplifies that spirit of endurance, I think that person would be Ruby Hemingway.
sometimes it's kind of fun to write things that I'm thinking about and just write them down as if I were talking.
I'll bet an awful lot of memories dance within the walls of that 19th century barn. You know, that barn's pretty unique because along with that farmhouse over here, it presents one of the few remaining examples of 19th century homesteads still standing in Franklin County out in western Massachusetts. But it's unique for another reason as well. It's the birthplace of Ruby Hemingway, a 19th century woman whose stories still dance from her memory onto the written page every week.
Farms were all inhabited by families who grew up and worked on the farm until, if there were too many boys, some of them had to go outside. But a good many times, generations of them worked on the same farm and got on very well.
She'll be 101 this January, and for the last 10 years, Ruby Hemingway has written a weekly column of recollections for the Greenfield Recorder called I Remember When.
Well, I suppose it brings to mind things that they never thought of. And so many people have no idea of the things that were old, that's never crossed their mind. Why a stone wall? And they haven't any conception of what it would be without electricity.
The weekly column springs from her memory and inspires the imagination of her readers as well as the staff of the paper.
I think that's what part of her appeal is, that everything's upbeat. And even now she'll say, isn't it wonderful to be living today? And she just, everything that happens, she's just so wide-eyed about, and she isn't a bit cynical. That's what's so great about her.
I think there's so much that is artificial, and they're so busy and so pushed all the time. I think sometimes they'd be better off if they lived a quieter life, same as they used to. But progress has got to go on.
You've seen so many changes. I wonder, do you ever get curious about the future?
Well, I've wondered a lot about that. What kind of development there's going to be, but it's sure to be something. And I'd like to know what it would be in even 25 years. Some of the customs and some of the work and machines and transportation and flying and everything is going to be different in 25 years.
Do you ever think about death and dying, about what it would be like for you to pass on?
No, I don't bother with it. That's something that I don't think much about, but I have always been curious about a great many things, and that's one of the things. But I don't think much about it anyway. It's enough to do to keep up with the modern times when you're living.
Thank you very much.
These stories have helped strengthen my idea of what kind of person makes a New England portrait. And that really comes in handy when I try to explain to my mom out in San Francisco why I choose to live in New England. There's an adversity here that's reflected in the weather, and the way people in New England cope with it has always impressed me. People here take obstacles and they convert them into tools for improving their lives and the lives of those people around them. Perhaps you know someone who's a New England portrait, the kind of person who makes us all feel better about being a New Englander, the kind of person who I'm proud to share as a New England portrait.